Hey everybody, this is Jen Romaro. I just wanted to take some time to share an activity that I love to do on Google Classroom. I learned this from our last Tri-District PD Day from Alice Keeler. It has to do with Google Classroom and Google Slides. So here you can see is my Google Classroom. I do not have any students in this classroom as of now. A little bit about my classroom. Some things that I find makes life a lot easier is making sure that I put all my assignments under topics. Just a little side note. So here, we're going to start with representing decimals. I'm going to go into this assignment so you can actually see how I created it. So obviously you will title it, the task for this assignment is going to be show me 3 different ways to represent the decimal 45/100ths. And here you're going to see are some rules that I like to set in place for this activity. So now keep in mind, so this activity, how I used to do it in the classroom when we were actually person to person, I would display the slideshow that I created on the smartboard. Each student will be on their own Chromebook and they'll actually be working and editing that slideshow. So I was able to monitor what was happening through the smartboard. How we can use this during our distance learning is we can actually probably share our screen during a Google Meet so the students can be working, showing that you actually see what they're doing. And it's a really nice way for the students to interact with one another as well, which is something that we're lacking right now while we're distance learning. So some of the rules along with this activity, and I'm going to go into the actual slideshow after this, is their class number is going to be matching the slide number. So whatever the slide number is the number that they'll be working on. And then they're allowed to use any tools, drawings, or images to represent. Obviously, it just has to be appropriate. They have to make sure that they work only on their slide, not to go onto other people's slides. Obviously, if someone is doing that you can stop the activity and do what you have to do as a teacher. You are allowed to comment on each other's work, but I do make sure the students know that it has to be a mathematical conversation. We don't want to just comment randomly. The point of it is to bring out the best math process in each other. And they're not allowed to touch the undo button, and they're not allowed to set a theme for all slides. In the past, the undo button has created some issues as a student will be working and all of a sudden another student thinks that they click the undo button and may fix what they're doing, but it actually manipulates the entire slideshow. So there's some things that could be a little tricky, but it's actually a lot of fun. So here I actually have a rubric attached that I can grade the students on. Basically, it's out of 4 for their performance if they do all the tasks is asking and how they behave and participate. Now let me go to the actual slideshow. So here's the slideshow. So you can see, I'm going to pretend that my class has 17 students. So that's why there are 17 blank slides. So if my student's class number is 11, they would go to class 11. I always tell my students, obviously you'll do this in your presentation, to write their name on their slide so that we know that it's theirs, and then they could start working on their slideshow. I always place the question and the rules at the end of the slideshow so it doesn't manipulate the numbers, because obviously if this was number 1, all the numbers would shift and it would be very confusing to put the students on what slide. I like that they know their class number, it matches the slide, and it makes life a lot easier. And then the students also are aware of each other's class numbers, so it helps along with a little bit of the respect and working. So some things that the students can actually do. What I love about these questions about representing or showing me gets the students thinking outside the box and talking about other ways to represent represent numbers or even equations. So if I go to a blank, some really great things they have for under image, obviously they can upload from their own computer, they can search the web, but they also have this thing, the camera. So if they have a camera, which most of them do, they can actually take pictures of work that they do or draw or a manipulative that they're using to attach to the slide. So I thought that's always great. They can use the shapes, they can use diagrams, they can do, here's some more shapes, they can make number lines, they can create an audio if they want to do a quick video. Give the students a big outlet to express themselves mathematically, and they really like it. And at the end, you have an amazing slideshow with all these different ways of representing the number, and it's a really great conversation piece. Now, the extra part that I do that not everyone has to do is I do allow the students to comment on each other. Like I said, I do go through the comments as they're actively working. I'm going through, if I can, try to delete a comment if I find it inappropriate, this and that. But the students are usually, they know that everyone can see it, and they know that you can see it, so they usually can be very responsible with this. But I ask them to ask questions, try to get more in-depth thinking. They are allowed to compliment one another, but I try to steer away from that. I want to really talk more about the math, maybe ask a question to a friend and say, hey, what if you did this, or how could you do that? And so it's a really nice way to see the students talk mathematically among one another. And that is the slideshow activity. I hope this helped, and I hope, if this in the future, we can use this in the classroom. But for now, while we're home, I think this would be a really nice way to utilize our Google Classrooms and the Google apps that we have. Talk to you guys soon.